If there's one series that makes me think of things like getting a spanking, I never would have thought it would be Wheel of Time, but here we are. So guys, we've reached the end of the Robert Jordan portion of the story, and while it is a little bit bittersweet, he left on quite a high note, and so we are going to talk about it now. When the Wolf King carries the hammer, thus are the final days known. When the fox marries the raven and the trumpets of battle are blown, the sweetness of victory and the bitterness of defeat are alike a knife of dreams. Pain was as much a part of life as breathing. A beautiful battle is one that you don't have to fight. Continuity provides stability, and stability brings prosperity. When a dangerous path was your only route to safety, you had to take it. Land Manager Gordon rides from World's End towards Tarwin's Gap, towards Tarmangaiden. Will he ride alone? The Golden Crane flies for Tarmangaiden. Hey, what's up, wheelies and dark friends? Mike back again for another Wheel of Time review. This time we were talking about the last edition by Robert Jordan in this series, and that, of course, is Knife of Dreams, a very popular book upon the fandom, which I will admit before starting it, I thought it might just be because it was the creator's last entry, but now that I've read it, there are quite a few things that I would like to talk to you guys about. In fact, when I was actually going through my notes, I take notes on my phone while I read these things, guys, and they're just, so big moments that I'll remember to talk about when I do these reviews. It isn't like a play-by-play or anything like that, but I'll take them off my phone and I'll email them to myself, and then I'll transfer them to a Word document to use while I do these videos. And when I did, I realized, wow, there's over 5 pages of notes here. So yeah, lots to talk about apparently that I didn't think while I was reading it that I'd have this much to talk about. But we're gonna see if I can keep this shorter than the Crown of Swords review, which is the longest review for a Wheel of Time book on this channel so far. But if it doesn't, it is what it is. So buckle up, guys. This might be a long one. Not really sure, but given how much people have been anticipating me talking about this, I think I've gotten more requests. Where is that? Okay, New Spring? Cool, dude. Can we get the Knife of Dreams review? So, hey, I'm here to give the people what they want. I just like to think I like to let the Wheel of Time books marinate a little bit, so it feels like right now, because of that schedule change that I had, that I'm reading them a little faster than I can review them at the moment. But I like to do it before I get too far into the next book, so things don't start bleeding over. But before I get started, I just want to say, that today is the 1-year anniversary, and you look at the tweet here. It's the 1-year anniversary of when I first started Eye of the World, so it's kind of crazy to think about what all's happened over the course of last year. Like I said, that's when this channel started, was when I started doing Wheel of Time, so it's just been a crazy ride. And again, I'm going to get to the review here. I just want to tell you guys thank you. This first year has been such a fun ride because you guys have made going through Wheel of Time so fun. It's much better than, like I've said before, when I was reading Song of Ice and Fire back in the early 2000s, and basically I had to go to like bulletin boards to talk to people who had read the series before. So it's made this a lot of fun, and you guys have been really, really awesome. Easily the best new fandom that I've ever been a part of. So thank you guys. But while I am going to get into it here, if this is your first time visiting the channel, guys, all of my Wheel of Time reviews are full of spoilers. Most of the people who are fans of these reviews have read the books and they want me to get into the nitty-gritty details. But when you're in book 11 of 14, I really don't think you need a non-spoiler review to sell you on a book or not. You're either in or out at that point. So here we are. We are going to get all into spoilers. This is going to cover everything from the first 11 books including New Spring. So I guess you'd say 12. So I did my New Spring review. You can catch that if you missed it. And that is where we are. So I might mention stuff that happens in New Spring. So I'd recommend that you read that for sure and check out that review if you haven't yet, because there was a lot more to talk about than I thought, just like there's a lot more to talk about with this than I thought. Okay, so there we are. We are going to get right into the madness here because, guys, this book, the prologue in this just starts off with a thunder, because I had said that the last few prologues, I feel like it's a glimpse of what's going on around the world, not with our core characters. And sometimes they've kind of felt like a drag. You know, they've been 100 pages, and I felt like about a third of it was worthwhile. This one starts off, wow, holy crap. I think in my wish list video I said, hey, what happened to Galad? Is he still alive? Well, he is still very much alive, and he is still very much awesome, because this book starts off with him basically writing to meet Eamon Valda and challenge him to a duel for murdering his mother at the moment. From where he stands, he thinks that Morghese has been killed and Eamon Valda did it. Eamon Valda says she's alive, but he does admit to basically raping her numerous times, and he looks forward to doing it again. I think what he said was she was quite a ride, and I look forward to riding her again, something like that. Trying to get Galad a little shook, and he's tempted. You know, temperature's rising there. He's ready, but he keeps his cool, and he actually takes advice from, I can't remember. Guys, there's so many names. I'm going to forget some names in this review. But basically tells him, you know, he likes to go for the arms and legs, get you tired, and then kill you. So Galad uses that information, and, you know, he feigns being a little more worn out than he is. And then when Eamon Valda goes for the killing stroke, you know, he gets out and he stabs him. And he kills Eamon Valda, so the rapist is dead. And I am quite okay with this. This is a guy where I've said I didn't like any of the Morghese chapters. Eamon Valda's just been a real piece of shit anytime he's been on the screen. So I am not sad to see this one go. This is a really, really awesome moment. And it makes Galad the new Lord Captain Commander of the Children of Light, and he basically tells them, well, you know, we got to cut all this shit out. Well, even if we've got to work with the Sanshan, we got to work with Aes Sedai, it don't matter, you know, because we need to be a part of what's about to go down. So it's a real nice re-welcoming to Galad, which I don't remember the last book we saw him in. Him and Gawain just kind of disappeared in this story or whatever. So the fact that I brought him up in the wish list just kind of randomly was it kind of answered quickly, and I appreciate that. But again, exactly the type of beginning that I felt like this book needed, because while I didn't think that the slog was quite as accurately, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't think that it was quite as bad as it's been blown up to be. But you know, the pacing is quite slow. So this one starting off, you know, with a little bit of thunder, as I put it, very, very good start. And the whole time I'm reading that duel, I'm thinking Wesley and Inigo in Princess Bride, even though it wasn't quite that chipper or whatever. That's just one thing. I was having fun. Anytime there's a sword duel, I think that's just a me problem. A guy I haven't really mentioned yet is Rodel Iturralde. I hope I'm saying that right. Iturralde. He's a Damani general. He's again in the prologue, and I thought he was just going to be someone who's one of those things where he shows up in a prologue to give you a glimpse of something, and then you never hear from him again. But again, we hear from him again here, so I kind of wanted to bring it up. But this guy seems like the only one who's competent enough to fight the Sanshan. He takes out a lot of their stores and stuff in the prologue here, and it just seems like he knows his shit, where everyone else is just like, oh, the Sanshan, ever victorious, there's really nothing we can do about it. You know, they're going to find a way to win. This guy just keeps changing his tactics, and he seems to be able to get victories, even if they're small right now, over them, because he's killing a lot of them. But again, since he comes up again, I figure he's going to be a bigger part of the story going forward. But it's really all he kind of gets here, but it's really cool seeing that, again, someone is fighting back here. They're not just like, turtling against the Sanshan. So it's really, really cool. High Lady Suroth comes back in the prologue here, and she is visited by Cimarog. I've been saying Cimarog, and that is just something that I had tried different variations of her name. Simmerhage was one of them, but I thought Cimarog sounds pretty cool. So I'm rolling with Cimarog. I want to say I've heard other people mention it that way, so I think that's just what I'm going with. Again, guys, I don't listen to audiobooks, so I say them how I read them. If you guys have a different way, that's okay. That's just how I read it, so that's how I'm going to say it. And that's just one of my little nuances that you guys will just have to deal with me with. He is actually, Lady Suroth and Cimarog are actually talking, and Cimarog tells her that the Empress is dead, and that she only has to kill Tuon for Suroth to be, ascended to the throne, and pretty much just kind of being a soothsayer there, being a little worm tongue in her ear. And Suroth's like, yeah, we're going to do that shit. So, ever political there. Lady Suros been doing that pretty much since she's shown up in this story for me. And then you got Egwene, who is a prisoner in the White Tower, as we knew from the last book. And she's been bumped back down to a novice, where she is continually punished by the mistress of novices for not acknowledging Elaida as the true Amyrlin. And that is where the prologue comes to a close. So, what I usually do for these is, instead of just kind of running down the summary in order, is I'll kind of go by each faction or each group or each character kind of thing and talk about their journey in the whole book. And I'm going to stick with that here because I feel like that usually is the best way to do it. Let's start with the Rebel Aes Sedai, because every time I do one of these wish lists, I say I want the Aes Sedai split to have a resolution one way or the other, either war or they squash it. And no, it doesn't happen this book. But I feel like at least now the seeds are planted for that to happen, in the conclusion. I hope it isn't all the way to book 14, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. My first question about the Rebel Aes Sedai is, what the hell happened to Siuan Sanche in this story? Because I thought she was one of the most interesting and badass women in this story. And even after she got stilled, I still thought she was a really good character. And I think it's been since about Lord of Chaos since she's brought anything to the story for me. And I just feel like it's a waste of character. I really do. She's just disappeared. She's just nothing. She's here now just to tell the Rebels Aes Sedai they have orders not to save Egwene. And then Lelaine starts, pulling strings to make sure she's the one who gets Egwene's spot if she doesn't come back. And that's really it. And I don't know. I hope Siuan has a bigger part in the end of the story, because I felt like she was a really good character that he set up and just kind of fizzled. And reading New Spring kind of reminded me of how much I like Siuan Sanche, and she's just nothing right now. So I hope something happens with her. One of the girls' warders, actually I can't place his name, but he notices that one of the Aes Sedai seized saidin during the cleansing at the end of Winter's Heart, and they finally do a little detective work, and once they deduce that it was actually Halima, Halima has already skipped town before they could catch him/her. So, okay. I said in the last one that I thought there was something weird going on with Halima and the headaches. Obviously, that was a Forsaken. I'm trying to remember if it's Osengar or Erengar, whichever one that came back as a... Was it Agonar that came back as a female? You guys, know who it is or whatever. That's what I was thinking. I can't keep a lot of those guys when they're resurrected into someone else straight. I'm not even sure that was ever actually confirmed. It probably was. I don't know where else I would have got the idea if it wasn't. But very clear that Halima was one of the Forsaken. It was one of the ones who came back. I think it's the one that Rand actually killed in the very first book. And came back as a female, but still was able to channel with saidin. So, okay, let's talk about the Forsaken now that I'm here. Holy hell, man, this actually had a good Forsaken chapter. I've taken a lot of heat for busting on the Forsaken, calling them clowns, calling them the Three Stooges, and just calling them a bunch of goofballs, and calling them, Walmart version of the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. And I stick by it. I'm not backing off on that. They're goofballs, and I don't care if you think that that's the way they were supposed to be written. Okay, I think they're goofballs. I think that they can't do anything right. And it got to the point now where I just got to, let's have the one chapter where they try to make them sound scary, and then when the climax comes and they slip on a banana peel. With this, it's actually a really, really good chapter. Really some good revelations here. They meet in Teleram Riod and Morden. There, he's actually revealed to be Ishmael. I want to say Ishmael, but I'm sure it's Ishmael. That's the guy from the Eye of the World prologue with Lews Therin. So I'm like, okay, wow, okay. I knew Morden was important, but that's really cool. Okay, but he tells the other Forsaken that Samael is still alive and sent a bunch of Trollocs into the ways, and it had to be one of the Forsaken because it's the only ones that could do it. So he assumes that it's Samael, but okay, I thought it was. I'm real big on if there's no body, there's, no dead. And we never actually saw Samael die. We just, he turned around and then he was gone, So, okay, that could be it. Why not? But this is the first mention of the Dark One seals in, 5 or 6 books now? I thought that this was just like something that was gone. You just kind of like dropped this. I mean, when I was first doing the first few books, I was taking notes. Okay, they've got this many seals now in each one. Then it just kind of just tailed off, and I don't think we heard a lot about it. I don't even remember who's got what at this point. I'd have to go back and watch those old videos, and I'm trying not to do that because I don't want those old videos to influence what I'm thinking, and I want to be able to go back to them when I'm done with this and just laugh at how wrong I was and everything. But anyway, if you can, I guess I could look up what all the seals are at this point. But I went this far without spoilers. I'm trying to go this far without spoilers. So I don't know how many seals they've actually recovered or whatever. But Morden says, yo, we need to find these seals. And he tells the Forsaken to go to places that Rand has been over the last few books to try to recover some of them. And then we have Sindane. And Sindane is a character I hadn't really thought much about, really. And then when in this conversation, she refers to Rand as Lews Therin, and I'm like, immediately like, oh my gosh, he's Lanfear. That means, holy shit, Moiraine has to be alive, right? Now, I never truly thought Moiraine was dead. When I did my Fires of Heaven review, I was like, if she's actually dead, that sucks. But again, I use that same theory of if you don't see a body, they ain't dead, you know. And I've always thought that Moiraine was the Gandalf of the story, and she was going to come back as Moiraine the White or something one day. So I never really thought that she was dead, but after it had been like 6 books, I was like, oh, okay, I guess he's going to stick with it. But we get a little more of that in a little bit here. But that was the first time I was like, oh my God, so if Lanfear's alive, then Moiraine is alive. But, you know, obviously Lanfear is reincarnated, so I guess she did die. I don't know. But again, I've got the wheels turning here, and I'm like, okay, so there's a chance. At least I've got a chance, right? But Morden shows them images of Mat and Perrin, and it says, you can kill them, but no one touches Rand but me. That's my deal. Me and Lews Therin, we're going to end this. And so no one touched them. And Simrog's like, whatever. Anyhow, we'll get to that when I get to Rand's section. But let's go to my dude Perrin. I felt like Perrin finally had that moment in Crossroads. I've been waiting for something. And he does some stuff in this. I mean, there is a big battle. So, I mean, I guess that counts as something. But he's having a parlay with Tylee and Mishima. They are of the Shanshan, and she realizes who he is, and she quotes this prophecy. It says, quote, when the Wolf King carries the hammer, thus are the final days known, when the fox marries the raven, and the trumpets of battle are blown. And I'm just happy I finally understand what one of these prophecies mean immediately, because there's still some from men that I'm like, no idea. So this is the first one where I'm like, okay, I actually get one. You know, he's dropped his axe. He's carrying his hammer now as his main weapon, and obviously we know the fox is Mat, and the ravens. Well, we'll get to that when I get to Mat. But again, like I said, I'm just happy that I actually understood one of these immediately. So you feel right now that okay, Robert's amping stuff up. He knows that he wants to, how he wants to end this, and he's just getting to it. And we aren't beating around the bush anymore. But they come to terms and agree to ally with the Shanshan to take out the Shido. Thank God. I've been asking for that for about 5 books now. But unfortunately, this does mean that Perrin is back to not really doing anything until late in this book. And he's just routinely, all the time, saying, nothing but Fael matters, up to the point where he's just kind of like being an asshole. Like, he's the point where he's like, I'd let the world end if it meant I got to save Fael. And, yo, I get it, dude. I get it. You know, I love my wife. I'd do anything for her. But I was like, this is the point where he's just being a straight dick about it. And it's just like, oh, God, end this. So the good news is this is the last book of that, I think. I mean, I would assume. But, again, it's just a few chapters of him getting fork root. And there's one where he gets shot by an arrow, you know, but he lives. And then the shooters like kill themselves. They go all like Hell Hydra, and they would kill themselves rather than accept torture. And some of the Shanshan speculate that means that they're probably with the Dark One then if they're willing to do that instead of accept failure. So you got some powerful enemies, and I think that kind of gets them a little bit of respect. I'll talk about Fael just for a second. I'm sorry, I feel like I need to. I have little interest in talking about these, but it does kind of matter in this book because you got Roland, the Aiel that's been helping her. He continues to tell her he's going to protect her, and he even kills another Aiel at one point to prove this point that he's going to protect her. But it's also insinuated that Fael is willing to sleep with him to help her escape, and. Yeah, like I said, I feel like I need to bring up Roland here because he's important to Perrin's arc in this. But we get to closer to the battle here with Shido. Mishima shows up with about 20 large. to help with the fight, and then Grady shows up. He just starts like Avengers Endgaming and opening up all these portals and these gateways where all these people from the Two Rivers and stuff start showing up, including Tam Althor. Remember him? Haven't thought about him in a minute. So that was a really cool reunion there. But Perrin names him a captain, and he wants to know about Rand, and Perrin confirms to him, yes, he is indeed the Dragon Reborn. So that was something I felt like Tam needed to know, and now that he knows it, so it's cool. It's cool. It feels like getting the band back together here, because I love those first few books, and anytime you get a mention of some of those characters, it's always going to get it's going to feel like a reunion tour. So I was happy to see him, even though it's not like he'd done a ton of the story, but still, it's just, again, when I first got into the story, and I thought Tam was going to be a much bigger character than he is, so it was a nice comeback. But they finally do attack the Shido, and the Battle of Malden begins. And as usual, Jordan's third act just kicks off like a freaking rocket, and it's stellar, as it always is. It really is. I mean, this battle is awesome. One thing that really just completely caught me off guard here is they kept kind of planting these seeds that Aram was, one of the people of the Leaf, or whatever they call him, and then he said screw that, and he's been practicing with the sword and stuff, but how he respects Masema so much, and how he like idolizes Masema. And when they're actually having this fight, it made me think back to something that Logan Ninefinger says in First Law series, where he says there's no better time to settle a debt with someone on your own side than during a battle, and no one's going to know. And I think that's kind of what happens here, because Aram actually turns on Perrin in the middle of the fight, just starts attacking him, just going crazy, and Perrin don't even know what to do. And he says that Masema has convinced him that that him and Elias are actually dark friends, because of their wolf eyes. And he says he wants to save Fael from Perrin, and Perrin falls down, and he's about to kill him. He really is about to kill him, and then he gets shot by random arrows and dies there, because Taviran, baby. But it was like, wow, that was unexpected. So good little twist there. That's something that's really well done, because I felt like it was planted, but not enough where I was like suspecting him. I just thought, hey, he's young and impressionable. It happens. But Perrin finally gets to Fael, and he kills the shit out of Roland with his hammer. I was like, whoa, okay. But he smells guilt all over her, and he assumes that she's been raped while captive, and they don't really speak about it. But in the end, Savannah is captured, and the Shido are finished, y'all. They're finished. I mean, at least I hope that they are finished. So the Shido and the Fael storyline, if it is done now, it is not a moment too soon, and I am just happy as hell. Now, if there's one thing I think is undeniable, it is that this is Matt's book. This is Matt and Tuon's book. I really think that... I know a lot of people said The Crown of Swords was kind of Matt's book, but I feel like this is very much Matt's book. I think that besides... No, I actually think even more. He has more chapters than Elaine, which I'll get to in a little while. But this is very much Matt's book, and it's excellent. It's actually more Matt all the time. I'm okay with that. Unfortunately, we start off, we're still with Val and goddamn Luca, who I don't understand why he's still in the story, but Matt decides he's going to use this opportunity where Luca doesn't want to, leave any of his places too quickly because he wants to make money. But he uses this as an opportunity to court Tuon, and he buys her a horse. He calls her Precious. She calls him Toy. It's kind of funny. Basically, when Tuon calls him Toy, I'm like, oh. When Selucia mockingly calls him Toy, I'm like, So, Selucia. I hope it's Selucia. I hope I'm saying that right. That I don't have it in the notes. Her and Matt kind of a couple of times bang heads, but that's her job. But yeah, I think it's funny that even in Tuon's POV chapters, she calls Matt Toy. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I started calling my wife Precious a lot while I was reading this. She's like, Precious? That's weird. I'm like, but he talks with Aludra, who actually finally has a point in the story besides just shooting off some firecrackers. She's found a way to make explosives that she calls dragon's eggs. So fancy little name there. Then you have Noel. I asked, don't think it was in the last review. It might have been the one before. I was like, what's up with Noel? Why is he always just in the right place at the right time or whatever? But he says that he is the cousin of Jane Farstrider, but I'm thinking that might be stretching the truth a little bit. It sounds like horseshit. I think he actually is Jane Farstrider, just because the way he talks about the man and the mistakes, and just kind of talks with him disdain, which would sound like you would do if you were talking about bad mistakes that you had made, and you were speaking in like a third person. So if that is confirmed, I missed it. But that's just where I am right now. I think he actually is Jane Farstrider, and it's kind of funny because Over like absolutely idolizes Jane Farstrider. So when he's like, yeah, he's a coward who left his wife and stuff like that. That's not true. I don't believe it. You know, it's like when someone's telling you that your hero actually isn't a good person. That's kind of cute because at this point I'm still wondering what point he has in the story, but he actually does. It actually comes around in this one, but. I haven't talked a ton about it because I'm just so done with Rebel Aes Sedai or Aes Sedai on the Run or some ancient pact of Aes Sedai escapees or kin or stuff like that. So I've just kind of, if it isn't super important, it doesn't mean I'm ignoring it or I'm glazing over it. I just don't talk about it too much in these reviews because they're long enough already. But they do have some Aes Sedai in their camp. And Matt actually like spanks one, not like a sexy or a flirtatious or a kinky way. It's actually as like a father would do to his child. It's interesting. Like I said, it's one of the things I would have never expected to be such a big deal in these books, where they talk about spanking people all the time. So, okay, it is what it is. But the biggest part of me in this whole book, besides the Golden Crane part, that we'll get to, it is Tom's letter, because I said in my wish list that I wanted Tom to have a bigger part in this story, and I actually referenced about his relationship with Moraine and how I felt like that was just a plot line that was dropped. Well, apparently it wasn't dropped. He was just hanging on to it. So it turns out that Tom has a letter from Moraine, and Moraine wrote those letters to everybody. Did she just give one to... She just gave one to Rand, and I believe she gave one to Lan. But apparently, and I might be wrong about that. She might not have gave one to Lan. That was a lot of words ago. But it turns out she gave one to Tom, too. And she instructs Tom not to show it to Matt until he asks to see it. And when he does, he reads a letter, which starts off with Dearest Tom, by the way. So, okay, maybe there's way more there than I think there is. But the letter, she's telling him that she is indeed not dead, even though everyone is going to think that she is, but she is being held prisoner. And it says that Matt, Tom, and one other person that she does not know will have to come and rescue her, and only Matt knows the way. Matt deciphers this as meaning the Aelfin and the Eelfin have her, and all over actually brings up that the Tower of Genji, I hope I'm saying that right, that he heard about it from Brigitte, and I finally see why the hell Oliver is in this story, just to tell them that apparently you have to do the snakes and foxes thing with a bronze knife to get into this tower. So we're getting real Minds of Moria speak friend and enter there. Interesting stuff. But Noel volunteers to be the third man, and Oliver, again, he tells them how it works. It's pretty deep. Again, there's a point where you have to say, okay, some of these characters are just there to make the world feel big. And then you say, okay, there are other characters that he actually had a plan for. So this is like, okay, I've had over and what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is like the 6th book, I think, or 5th book with him in it. And I feel like he finally had a point to this story. Even if it wasn't huge, at least I feel like he had a plan for him. I don't know if that was a plan from the beginning, but does it matter? It doesn't probably matter. So later on, they hear stories of someone impersonating Tuon, and that a hit has been put out on her, most likely from Suroth, right? I mean, it makes sense. They get attacked by a large group of men and women, and Matt actually kills about 7 men, but he won't raise his weapon to a woman, which I'm sorry, is just getting ridiculous. I keep having this argument with people in the comments. They're like, you just got to understand that this isn't a patriarchy. This is a matriarchy world. This is just how it works. If that is true, and if it's a matriarchy and corporal punishment on men is okay, then why is there still chivalry? I don't believe that there still be men who are like, oh, I can't hit a woman. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay, even in a patriarchy, you don't hear women being like, oh, I'd never hit a man. It's stupid. It's stupid. And I feel like Robert's trying to have his cake and eat it too here. So that annoys me. It annoys me. It's going to annoy me even more with Rand. I'm going to get into it. So if this is something that bothers you, then I'm saying, that's just how I feel, man. I feel like it is just ridiculous at this point. I don't feel like you can say, okay, we're turning the tables here and we're treating it differently than our world, but all these things from our world still exist. It doesn't make sense to me. Again, I'm sure I'll get numerous messages in the comments about how I just don't understand. And maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. I just think it's silly. Anyhow, this woman is he's basically going to let this woman kill her because, he feels bad about that one girl that he killed way back in Fires of Heaven. So he isn't going to kill her. But Tuon, she's got no problem slicing up a lady, and she does so. And she's like, why were you going to let her do that? And he explains, and it's just, I don't know. But I think that the Matt and Tuon romance, it does kind of take an odd turn in this one, where I said I'm glad that it feels like it's actually being built. It's being earned. It's not just out of nowhere. They're just like, hey, we love each other. He tells someone not to kill a poisonous snake, and then she decides, oh, that makes it okay for Matt to kiss her because, I guess everyone's got their thing or something, but something like this is for the man who doesn't kill snakes or something. But anyhow, apparently the first kiss is meh, but the second kiss, it apparently curls her toes. So go, Matt. But they finally leave Luca's circus, thank God, and they go to Mirandi, and their way is blocked by the Sanshan, so they decide they got to find an alternate route. But Tuon, she really begins to see Matt in a new light. She's still kind of like, he's just a boy, he's just silly. But when she sees him among his men in the Red Hand and sees, how loyal they are to him, how much they respect him, and, how much he demands their respect, it's just like, it's like when a gal has no interest in a guy because she doesn't, think he's ambitious, but then she realizes he is ambitious. He just doesn't like to talk about it. So, again, go Matt. He's hitting all the right notes here. He's playing this about as well as you can, in my opinion. But Matt and his band, they attack the Sanshan. The camps, it's kind of like a distraction so everyone can get through to Mirandi, and then Tuon completes the Sanshan marriage ceremony to Matt and asks him to return to Ibudar with her and rule, and he declines. He thinks about Tavir, and he thinks about the last battle, thinks about what he owes Rand and stuff like that. That pull to pull of Tavir, he can't. But they agree that they are not enemies, but that could change in the future. So this might not have quite a happy ending between these two, but I appreciate their romance here. I'm not shipping them or anything like that, but I felt like, again, of all the romances in the book, I feel like this is the one that hasn't just really either rubbed me the wrong way. Even though Rand's situation is much, much different, I really like Rand and Min, but the whole fact that there's like two other ladies he's got there just kind of like ruins that for me. So yeah, this is one of the better romances in the book, and the fact that it doesn't have just this happy, they live happily ever after kind of ending here, at least not yet. I think that's a nice little twist there. But they have their big battle with the Sanshan and Matt in the Red Hand, and they win their battle using the dragon eggs I mentioned earlier and some kind of OP crossbow that they've devised. It says it's like a new design of crossbow, so at first I was thinking, is this something he got from some of the memories in his head or whatever? But I believe they say it's like a new version of crossbow, and I guess it's just, hey, he's allowed to come up with new ideas too, right? So there it is. But Tuon, she returns to Ibudar, and she strips Suroth of her title, and she has her imprisoned, and that is the end of Suroth, at least for now. Let's switch over to Egwene. This is going to be a little shorter, guys, because I know a lot of people tell me that they love Egwene's story in this book. It was just okay to me. I didn't hate it, and I know that I've got a couple of comments about how I don't like any of the female characters in here. That is not true at all. The only female character I do not like is Elaine, which I'll talk about in a minute. Sometimes I just don't like their storyline in a book, so it may seem like I'm indifferent to them. I have no problem with women characters, and I think that's really unfair of people to say that to me. But her story in this, it really just makes me continue to think that Elida is just a dummy. She's got to be one of the dumbest people in this story in a position of power. She just lets Egwene just kind of walk around the tower, basically unchecked. Yeah, they use fork root, they use shielding, but they know that she's going to Teleron Rioge. They don't. So basically, still running stuff. They don't do anything. They let her just walk around. Why is this girl not getting stilled? Why is she not having her killed immediately? Oh, because she wants her to bend the knee or something like that? That's just... So like I said, the section will be a little bit light because I didn't take a ton of notes on it, because she's basically just her walking around the tower and convincing everyone in small portions of time that Elida is actually the bad one and she's actually the good one, and people buy it. And it's not even that great of a sales pitch. It really... A lot of things I keep saying about Egwene is I feel like she's, dare I say it, she's reaching Mary Sue levels where she always just everything just happens right for her. I mean, even when she fails, like getting captured at the end of the last book, she seems to fail upward for no other reason other than Robert Jordan said so. Because he had that vision in The Great Hunt of her ascending to the Amaryllis. I felt like he's had his hands tied and he has to do it. I don't understand. I don't understand. She's never done anything, and she's just got all this respect. She's never led a battle or anything like that, and everyone just is like, oh yeah, she's so great. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyhow, so I guess you guys can use your, oh, well, she's Taviran or something excuse, even though I don't think that term's actually been used with her. But again, if I'm missing someone, I know that's an unpopular opinion. That's just where I'm at with her right now. That's just where I am at right now. I'm not getting much out of her story. Like I said, I'm not believing her as this great manipulator that's going to get all these people to believe that her, who's actually achieved nothing really in her life, has been raised to Amaryllis of this group of rogue misfits. But that all these people are going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, Lyda's a dummy. No, Lyda is a dummy. But that's how I felt reading this. I didn't get as much out of it. As I say, like I said, I don't dislike her character. I just don't like this storyline, and I feel like it is actually damaging her character because, again, she keeps failing upwards, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So, like I said, you actually can't use the Taviran excuse with her like I do every time I question everything that Perrin or Matt do. But who knows? Maybe she's got the Force or something. But the good news is that that her story is relatively small in this one. It's just like 2 or 3 chapters, I believe. So maybe I've got the book wrong, and people have told me that there's a different book where her story is really good. Because if this was it, I don't understand what I don't feel like I read the same thing as everyone else. Because I was led to believe that her story was really, really good in this one, and not only is it really not, it's kind of short. So I don't know. If it wasn't for this next character, I'd say this is easily my least favorite arc in an otherwise great book, and you guys know what character that is. Let's talk about Elaine. Oh, because, 15% of this book is Elaine. 15%. Yeah, this probably would have been a top 3 book for me if it wasn't for the Elaine chapters, and I'm serious. Only Matt has a bigger run this book. She has 9 very, very, very long chapters in this book, and at one point she even has 5 in a row. He's really challenging here. Look, if you haven't been interested in the Andor throne storyline up to this point, this isn't going to be the book that changes your mind because it's a lot of the same. There's even one chapter, and I'm not kidding about this, there's a whole chapter about her not remembering where her apartments are. But if there is good news, it is that this arc seems to finally conclude. I mentioned last book that there's a whole subplot for the Andor throne with Aramilla, and I just didn't care. Well, we got a whole nother book of that. But if you're into this, like I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, I could see this being done really well in the TV series. They do it like a Game of Thrones way. I didn't read it like that, so I would hope that they can do it better. But about the only thing of note for me in this was that it was revealed that Avienda she can tell what any Terangrial can do just by touching it. So that's really cool. But she's told to leave Andor to go back with the Aiels and the Wise Ones, just for reasons. I didn't really understand the whole reasoning for her going, and to me it just kind of felt like Robert's trying to get everyone in a specific place for what was at the time supposed to be the 12th and final book. So that's what it feels like for me with Avienda in this. But there's actually a subplot within the subplot where Elaine decides she's also the bestest Aes Sedai too, right? So she's going to bring some Black Aja to justice, and she's just so fucking cocky about it that she basically tells the warders to stay back because this is Aes Sedai business. And I'm like, what? Isn't protecting Aes Sedai warders business? I don't know if it's because I already am just like frustrated with the character and I just plain don't like her that made me even more aggravated or whatever. But long story short, her and some Aes Sedai sisters go to arrest him and everybody gets killed except for Elaine. Yeah, because of her bullheadedness, because of her conceited bullshit. And it's like, you didn't like her? Oh, well, here, how about this? Does this make you like her better? No, this makes me like her even less. But this, of course, leaves Brigitte room to prove, again, that she's the only one with a brain in Andor, and she rescues Elaine, much to my disdain. so mad at Min because I was like, damn it, Min, why'd you have to go and tell me that like her kids are going to be fine and stuff, so she's actually going to live? Because I never for once thought Robert's actually going to kill her off here. But like I said, hopefully it just means that this storyline is over. Because afterwards she's able to defeat Aramilla's army and she gets support from 9 of the 10 houses and is going to be named queen until Morgase shows up probably. Yeah, so more of that. But my biggest gripe in this book is really that when we're in the climax of Perrin and Mat and Rand's POVs and we're coming to a head and it keeps stopping to flip back and be like, oh, this is what Elaine's doing. And it just took me out of it every single time. And it just, it's like leaving the middle of the action scene to go talk about how paint dries. That's how it felt to me. So I feel like if she was actually edited out of this story, like I said, I feel like this would be a top 3 book. If you just skip those chapters, this would be a top 3 book in Wheel of Time so far for me. That's how much I felt like those stories, or her story, dragged this one down. But I've been saying that for a while now. It's nothing new, guys. But she has such a big part in these damn books, I can't just like not talk about her. So there it is. There it is. Let's get to the good stuff here. And that, of course, is Rand. Rand and, let's see here. I asked him my wish list for more Loyal, and doggone it, we get that too. So, hey, awesome. Loyal, he keeps pressuring Rand for details about his exploits so he can write in his book. And I'm like, okay, well, he's just still doing more of his book stuff. But Rand is thinking about his confrontation with Samael. And again, with Samael, we're talking about that was at the end of Crown of Swords, and he keeps seeing Moradin's face. And I'm assuming that that means that Moradin was the man who crossed streams with Rand with Balefire in Shadow Logoth. Didn't he say something like, you'll die when I want you to die, or something like that? So, okay, that's an interesting... I wouldn't say I didn't expect... Not that I didn't expect it, because I didn't really know what I expected. I actually had like this weird theory at the time. I don't know if I said it in Crown of Swords, or something I actually thought about later, was that because it was like Balefire and they were playing around with time, that it was actually Rand helping Rand or something like that, or that it was Luce Theron helping Rand. I don't know. It was one of those weird theories I never really went crazy deep into, because it really didn't make sense, and Balefire can be confusing enough as is, and I didn't really want to go crazy about it. But what Logain? Logain. I'm going to talk about Logain because he continues to tell Rand how crooked Mazrim Taim is and that he needs to be dealt with. And Rand just always just thinks he can wait. And Varen even chimes in to tell him, you guys need to be worried about the last battle, and Taim can wait. And see, I'm thinking, don't you think you need to make sure that all those Ashaman and all the Taim and all them are on your side and not against you? Because that's quite a pendulum swing there that could turn the tide of the battle. You need to make sure that they are going to be fighting on your side. But at this point, it's just about impossible to tell Rand anything. But Nynaeve tries anyway, because she tells him a storm is coming before she leaves to talk to Lan, which I'll talk about her part in this at the end of this, because, yeah, you know why. But Cadsuane is her usual abrasive self, and she even threatens to spank Logain and Rand. So more of the spanking. It is what it is. Robert was a very interesting fellow. I just didn't even know with all the spanking stuff in this. But I briefly touched on it in my new spring review about, I have been thinking for a while now that either Cadsuane or Varen, one of them has to be a dark friend, because they got this whole cat and mouse thing kind of going on in this. And I want to say the way that it was set up in New Spring, it was too on the nose that it's Cadsuane. So I'm thinking, oh shit, I mean, it's got to be Varen, right? I don't know, because I like Varen, but it's one of those things. It's really, really tough for me to think about. So I started actually writing it down and thinking, okay, what are some clues that Cadsuane is not a dark friend? I'm like, okay, well, she's doing this whole thing about, oh, we want to make the dragon laugh again, make him smile again, make him feel human again. I'm like, why would a dark friend, why would they actually be doing that? That wouldn't make very much sense. And then I thought, well, maybe that's so he's distracted for the last battle. He has too much compassion. He's not focused. So, okay, that can go the other way. With Varen, I'm like, I feel like there was numerous times. I mean, I remember in Great Hunt, I remember wasn't she the one that kept trying to make him use the portal stones and stuff like that? But I don't know. I'm sticking by this. One of them has to be a dark friend. I just don't know which one, because they've been playing this game now for a couple of books. But hey, back to Loyal for a second. We actually do get a Loyal POV chapter, and I'm actually just delighted about this. I mean, I've been asking for more Loyal and Tom for numerous books, and I finally get some. I mean, who cares? It's just an Ogier wedding. I got a Loyal POV chapter. I'm happy, but after the wedding, it doesn't really last very long because a huge horde of Trollocs in Myrddraal, they start attacking, and Logain and Rand just lay waste to these fools. There's like 10,000 of them, and they're just blasting the shit out of them. And I might be mistaken, but when I read this is what I thought. I believe that this is the first time that Rand just kind of gives the reins to Lews Therin and lets him do work. And he channels these weaves that Rand doesn't even know about. I think they call them blossoms of fire or arrows of fire or death gates or something. It's some hot shit, right? And it just... He sees other similar weaves while this is going on. And he thinks that Logain must be copying him. So, wow, okay. So Logain is very powerful, clearly. But after the fight, Logain wants to know how the hell he knows these weaves. And more importantly, Rand, why are you not letting go of Saidin? You know, the fight's over. And as the reader, we know that this is Lews Therin. He's talking to Rand, telling Rand he wants to die. And what better time than right now? And Rand has to basically cut a deal with him and tell him that, hey, we can die at Tarmangaiden. We can die at the last battle. And he finally agrees, okay. And he lets go of Saidin. So, big moment there, very big reveal. Like I said, I feel like this is the first time he's just kind of took a back seat and lets Lews Therin just do the damage. So, very, very cool stuff. And I mean, that starts when you start getting deeper and being like, well, you know, they are actually just like the same person, right? I mean, I feel like if there isn't like a definitive answer on the whole Lews Therin thing at the end of the series, I feel like that's something that's going to be that has probably been widely debated upon for years. I don't know. So here we are. One thing that's really crazy about this is Cadsuane actually threatens men there to be like, oh, you need to let me know how he feels right now or whatever. And Rand is not having that shit. And I feel like it's one of the few times I recall him actually stepping on Cadsuane, telling her what's up. So big moment there, and Cadsuane's always like, you as you wish or whatever. But yeah, so men is where I've said that I feel like Avienda and Elaine, regardless of how I feel about them, yeah, Rand says he loves them, but it feels like the real relationship is him and Min. That feels like the actual love relationship to me. So he obviously cares about Min a great deal, and that's the one that I actually believe, especially with the way he acts here. But Varen takes off, and she leaves Rand a note advising him to trust Cadsuane, but no other. Again, there's a whole cat and mouse thing. I don't know what's going on there, but there's some shit with Cadsuane and Varen that I hope is actually going to have some resolution. Because I've been thinking this for a couple of books now that I didn't want to face it might be Varen, but I really think it might be. I don't know. And if neither of them are and you guys are laughing, that's great. Like I've said before, please don't tell me. I'm not asking you guys to tell me these things. It's just where I'm thinking right now. So, Davram Bashir shows up, tells them the meeting with the Daughter of the Nine Moons is set, and they head to Altara. And when they get to the meeting, Tuon walks out with her guard to meet him. Nynaeve tells him one of them's channeling. Rand is still like woozy from the whole bit before, and so he doesn't. And then he notices that Tuon flickers, and Rand realizes that it is a Forsaken in disguise and tells everyone it is Cimarog. And he reaches for the source, but he's fighting Lews Therin for it, and Cimarog launches a goddamn fireball at him, and he blocks it with the Dragon Scepter to protect Min, but he's down. He is down, and they have a fight, and when he recovers, he sees the scepter's been destroyed, and Cimarog has been captured, and his left hand got Luke Skywalkered. He's just stumpy now, and Nynaeve quickly heals the wound. Like I said, he's just left with a stump, and I'm like, wow, okay, I don't know what implications that's going to have, but honestly, it's not a big deal, right? So, whoa. I feel like in all these stories, I feel like maybe it's just the Star Wars movie, but everyone has to lose a hand or something, or has to lose some kind of. I'm even thinking back to Dark Tower. I don't want to get accused of ruining Dark Tower for someone, so I won't mention that. But a character loses some vital parts of their body in that story too. So I feel like a lot of the best fantasy stories always have a character losing some type of limb or digit or something like that. So very, very crazy and. I didn't expect this at all. I thought this was just going to be, this is the part of the story where Rand fights a Forsaken and beats him, right? No, he does not. But he identifies Cimarog from Lews Theron's memories, which leads Cimarog to declare that Rand is going insane, because once you start to hear that voice, there's no coming back for it. That even Grendel couldn't really cure people of once they start hearing the voice in their head, and you're gonna fall into madness. And I don't think that she's wrong. Definitely don't think she's wrong, and that's where we end with Rand in this book. And that leads me to Nynaeve, and I think it's no secret why I wanted to talk about this part last, because it is far and away the best moment in a book full of great moments. It really is. And I'm talking, of course, about the chapter called The Golden Crane. And it wasn't just because people told me, hey, after you read the chapter called The Golden Crane, let me know what you think. That didn't set my expectations one way or the other, because I've had people tell me about numerous chapters or numerous events in other books, and they haven't affected me one way or the other. So that didn't raise or lower my expectations of this. But I hinted at in my new spring review about how I feel like reading that first made this moment more powerful. But it is a great moment on its own too. But Lan is kind of pissed at Rand for focusing on the Seanchan and not Tarmon Guyton, and I'm just giving Lan a virtual high five, because I said the same thing in my wish list, that they're just kind of chilling, just hanging around, looking at other things, when you need to be focusing on the bigger picture here. And it's great, because I've been saying I need more Lan, and now I feel like Lan's actually thinking the way I am. But Lan decides he needs to go to the Borderlands and prepare for the last battle. Nynaeve reluctantly agrees, but makes him swear a vow that if she takes him through a gateway there, he's going to allow any men who want to follow him and fight with him, he's going to allow them to do so, and he's going to lead them. And in perfect Nynaeve trickery, she takes him to World's End in Saldea, which is quite the ride to Tarwin's Gap, really. So that way, she believes this will allow more men to join him and increase his chances of survival through the last battle. But she's not done. She goes basically on a recruiting tour, and she goes to a merchant in Saldea, and he was born in Malkir. And she asks him to send a message via pigeon to all of his contacts and tell them that Tarmon Guyton is on its way. And he sees the serpent ring, and he realizes what she's saying here. And she gives the best quote of the book, and I want to read it here. It says, "Lan told me once the Malkir lives so long as one man wears the Hadori and pledge that he will fight the Shadow, so long as one woman wears the Kisan and pledge that she will send her sons to fight the Shadow. I wear the Kisan, Master Aldragoran. My husband wears the Hadori. So do you. Will Lan Mandragoran ride to the last battle alone?" The man, he's just like in tears, and he says that he will not ride alone, and that the golden crane flies for Tarmon. And I am choking the tears back. Really, really am. This is the first real goosebumps kind of moment that I've had reading this book since Ashaman Kill at Dumais Wells. This is the one that makes me wish this was the last chapter of this book, because chills, my man, chills. Really, really great stuff. And it's as advertised. It's a great moment. And with that, I come to the end of the journey with Robert Jordan as my storyteller. I know it's wildly debated how much of the story is his words and how much is Brandon Sanderson words the rest of the way. I know that they're apparently the very last chapter is all written by Robert Jordan in the last book or whatever. But yes, very, very bittersweet. I want to take a moment in an actual video outside of this to kind of, just like a tribute to Robert Jordan. I don't know how in-depth it'll be or anything special. It's just I want to make sure it gets the attention that it deserves about how much I appreciate what this guy was able to do. Yes, I'm critical in these videos. I think that anytime you put on the review goggles to do something like this, no one just wants to hear someone just be like, "Oh, it's just wonderful, it's perfect, there's nothing wrong." At least I don't. I don't like echo chambers and things like that. I like to hear what other people think, and then I'm always going to be honest. I'm always going to give constructive criticism. Obviously, I've said numerous times I think Robert Jordan's one of the best writers we've ever had, so you know how high of a regard I hold him in. But I do want to take a moment in a separate video to kind of talk about him and talk about where the series is headed with Brandon Sanderson. So I'll leave that really too much there. But guys, for me, this is a top 5 Wheel of Time book. When I first finished it, I want to explain this here. I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is good, not great. It's a good book. And then I slept on it for a night, and I bumped it to 4, which is a great book. And I think what that was I was so just peeved at the way they kept breaking in with the Elaine stuff when the really good stuff was going down with Perrin, the really good stuff was going down with Rand, the really good stuff was going down with Matt, and they kept bumping Elaine in there. And I think that kind of demotivated me in ways. But I went and thought about it, and I was like, I gave The Dragon Reborn 4 stars, and it did that too with the White Tower stuff. So I really thought that was really being unfair to it. And I was like, I had a great time with this book. Best one since The Shadow Rising, easily, for me. And yeah, it met expectations in every way. It exceeded them in many others. It made me, I think the biggest thing to come out of this book is it made me realize how much I love Nynaeve. You know, for the longest time, I felt like, Nynaeve, she's just always so damn mad. And it really just made me realize how much I truly do love that character. And I think that's the greatest thing to come out of this because, yeah, she gave me the feels in this. And like I said, you can make the hair stand up on your arm just by reading some words off of a page. I think that's just great writing, obviously, but it also shows that you love that character. So, great moment, and I'm glad that she had the biggest moment, really, in this book, in my opinion. But I've got my wish list for Gathering Storm should probably drop tomorrow. I actually recorded it before I started reading, but I just haven't released it yet because I want to get this review up first. Because I want to kind of keep this like in some kind of sequential order here. But I actually did, before I started reading Gathering Storm, I did record the video for my wish list on that because I don't want to do that after I've started reading the book, but I also didn't want to wait because at the time I still thought I was going to be doing the JordanCon thing. It hasn't been officially canceled yet, but it's going to get canceled. After the whole Biogen thing in Boston has contributed to what's going around right now, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's going to get canceled. It's going to get canceled. My question right now is if I can get my airfare back. You know, I doubt it. But, you know, that's life, right? But I'm going to finish Gathering Storm, but if that indeed does be the case and they don't find some cure for this overnight, I don't think that I'll be making JordanCon. And I'm going to slow my roll. I'm not going to read Towers of Midnight and Memory of Light immediately after these. I'm going to slow back down and go back to my original schedule, pick up some Dresden Files, but I will still be finishing this by the summer for sure. But worst case scenario, I'll be finishing this by the summer or whatever. But that's where I'm at now, guys. So I hope that this review met your expectations. I hope that you had some of the similar feelings, and if you didn't, it's fine. It's fine. Obviously, I've always said the best thing about this channel is it's okay to disagree. We can still hang out and talk afterwards, and I hope we can hang out and talk now. So please drop in the comments and let me guys know where do you place this in the series, and really just anything you want to talk about. Spoilers for the first 11 books are allowed. If you want to talk about New Spring, I'll allow those too, but please don't talk about the final 3 books in the series. I've made it this far without being spoiled, and I'd really, really like to make it to the end without being spoiled, and you guys have been wonderful about that. So thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you soon.